meantime, speaking of energy, a war of words between the premiers of Alberta and British Columbia heating up. Danielle Smith calling David Eby's recent comments, quote, un-Canadian. It's over his opposition to building an oil pipeline from Alberta to the west coast of BC to head on to markets in Asia. Smith is also saying that Eby's position is unconstitutional, then Eby firing back.
Well, I think Premier Eby's comments are un-Canadian and they're unconstitutional.
It's not the Danielle Smith show, it's the Canadian team. And we all deserve the same opportunity for the same federal funding for our projects as she does for hers. That's not un-Canadian, that is fair. And there is nothing more Canadian than fairness. That is a core national value.
You can tell that Eby is not happy based on the tone. Danielle Smith wants a pipeline greenlit. It would run from Alberta to BC's west coast. Eby is against the proposal. He says it makes no financial or economic sense. Of course, that is debatable. Smith met with the Prime Minister on Monday in Ottawa before Carney traveled to Washington. She says she is expecting significant movement on this file when Carney announces more major projects in November, but she says some changes are needed.
The message I've had to the Prime Minister is that it's the oil sands companies who need to have confidence that they're going to be allowed to expand production in order to be able to fill a pipeline. And at the moment, because of the laws that are in place, they don't have that confidence. So that's why we have to deal with these things as a package.
Smith says building a pipeline to the west coast is a test of Canadian unity. It's also about making our country an energy superpower, finding new customers, new markets for Canadian energy beyond the United States. Let's bring in Lori Williams, she's standing by in Calgary, political analyst. Lori, good to see you. Your take on this feud between Smith and Eby, getting pretty ugly.
It is, and it's a very combative stance that's being taken by both premiers about something that is really quite hypothetical still at this point. I would suggest that obviously they're staking out sort of public ground on this, but there's a whole lot more that could be accomplished in private conversations behind the scenes. And Danielle Smith at times seems to have recognized that working with other premiers and the federal government are key to the success of what she is demanding. But at other times has been quite combative, and it's led to this war of words between the two premiers. It's not the first time we've had disagreements between premiers. That balance between advocating for individual provinces and working together for the good of Canada, I think is a delicate balancing act to strike. But Danielle Smith probably needs to focus a bit more on the benefits to Canada if she wants to bring other premiers and Canadians on board.
Yeah, I wonder what's at stake for her politically here. I mean, she has indicated, certainly in recent months, that she finds the federal government under Mark Carney is more open, more receptive to the idea of energy projects. But obviously, Alberta is landlocked. It needs to get its oil to Tidewater, as we often hear, in order to ship it to international markets that are not the United States.
Well, and that's key to getting a better price for the oil that is produced in Alberta. So whether it's a West Coast pipeline or some other pipeline, let's say Keystone or some other one, there could be benefits, again, not just to Alberta, but to the entire country. And the trick is to balance that in a national sort of energy environment balance, something that has been attempted in a number of different ways. The Trudeau package, if you like, had all premiers except for Scott Moe on board in the early days of the Trudeau prime ministership, but that consensus has been lost. And so there's a possibility of striking that balance in a different way. So rather than reducing emissions by emissions caps, perhaps by some other methods. But to insist specifically on this or that pipeline and to suggest that Canada doesn't work if that doesn't get delivered to Alberta is probably not the most effective strategy, at least for succeeding in these talks. It makes Danielle Smith look like a great advocate for Alberta's interests, but if it doesn't succeed, and if other priorities that Albertans have are not being met, that sort of strategy might actually fall on tougher times.
Hey, Lori, good to see you. Appreciate some of your insights on this one today.
Thank you, Scott.